methods, but I hesitated to go much further because I knew I had a small sample and it would be difficult for me to really do anything statistically with it. So I really limited myself to the means and to the clustering.
Yeah, just occurred to me, if he's not a job candidate who worked hard and working on, I guess, assigning your credit is bad, which is he's working on exits from homelessness.
Okay.
And he has a similar sample size, and he was using, in fact, Boolean algebra, Boolean comparative approaches too, which also involve interaction, allow for interactions too. So that's one, one alternative. I'm curious to see what the...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I clearly recognize that, for instance, when I look at things like, the fact that it's government issued, and then another one of them is issue reliability. I suspect that those may be related. Maybe they think government is a more reliable issuer, but and there are methods which I did apply when you go through the repertory grid interviews to try and hone in on whether
relationships.
Yes, on relationships. But again, I didn't. I couldn't do anything further with it after the interviews because I just didn't have the sample size. So yeah, but you're right. I mean, there are certainly other kinds of analyses that I could do.
Yeah, I don't know how they're better or what. Just.
Yeah, but in terms of the measurements that I took really were the level of experience. I know the type of bank, and then the rating. I mean, those were the three basic measures that I took for each interview.
My first comment will be that following now, that is, your literature review doesn't exist that much.
I'm sorry, say again?
You didn't talk about anything of the literature review. You didn't position your research in terms of your existing research.
Okay, yes, okay, something you're right. That's what I'm saying.
But my main point I'm having is how to use this or so what? How to use this result? That's not clear.
Okay, yeah,
It seems like that you have now some table, some synthesis of results, something like that, but it abruptly ends there. Okay, so what? I say for example, I am a bank manager and I someone came out the document. Then how will I use this to judgment of the
yeah, one of the things I think is the point that John made, for instance, this may have application for the regulators. Another one is that this may have applications for the people who are actually the banks. One of the things, but you're right. I mean, I don't bring that out.
No, I'm not talking about where it can be specifying where it can be applied. I'm talking about how it can be applied. That part is.
Okay, so for instance, perhaps say to the regulators how they can set best practices, or saying this could be applied by making recommendations for what featured identity documents should have. Is that what you're thinking of?
What's the conclusion? What's the conclusion of this research? You have a table and a number.
Go to slide 24.
Sure.
Paraphrasing what I hear Tucker saying. I also, potentially, there's yet another slide this one. We've been through this 3 or 4 times. And I keep adding slides and then we have to move. That's why the appendix got bigger and bigger. We had to just move some things out to the appendix. But there's still a slide paraphrasing, and I heard it from Rama, and I heard it from Tucker. Yeah, it's positioning, and it's also where we went around your chapter 7, and your chapter 7 still talks about a lot about the specific results that you got from your study.
Yes, right.
But there's the bigger thing of how this study, it's also what John was getting at, how this technique, if we look back at your slide 1 is missing on the handout. Slide
It's
1.
in the front. It's on the front of the. It's on the very front of this.
how the result, I mean, but you're talking about basically as it says here, a methodology or a technique.
Correct.
How this technique is going to change the way these examiners do their job. That's, what have you learned that will impact this kind of practice?
It has to go beyond just two numbers, the conclusion.
So what?
Yeah, so conclusion, okay, there are a lot of nice numbers, a lot of nice table and so on. So what? Someone reading at the conclusion document, there should be 4 or 5 pages chapter, by reading at that document, someone should be able to take the decision. Okay, this is what I need to do, or this is what I need to change, that kind of thing.
That's the first attempt at best practices.
Okay.
That's sort of what
The positioning and the best practices, maybe those are the two things that I'm hearing here.
And I really think you relative to sort of the regulators. But again, same thing. Bank of America invites you to their corporate headquarters and says, what's so important about your research? For me, running Bank of America.
How does it affect me?
Right, okay.
What should we do because of what you do?
Confidential theoretically writing, if you look at chapter 3 of the book they're using the course, it's such a book.
Yes.
It has a little, template and it has all these things. And it's almost like a checklist because it tells you when you situate your problem, you situate it in the local and I think you've done a very good job of locating it in the local view, but also the bigger picture of where this fits in the larger scenario. And then all of these issues come up there, the perspectives you're considering, all of those things that actually tie
Relationships
together.
with other organizations.
The engaged college, we use that in the philosophy of science books. So that's almost like a checklist. Covers
You talk about the Vanderbilt.
Okay. As I say, I'm going to hold, and here, the audience still has questions. Audience, now you can, I'm going to send Kenneth out, you can ask Kenneth outside. So thank you all for coming. Now we're going to
have to make sure to turn off all the recordings.
all recording devices, all